Please stand. Dear Heavenly Father, we come tonight saying thank you. Thank you for a day that we've never seen before. And thank you for bringing us to January 6, 2025. Father God, we ask you to be with us tonight. Guide our minds. Help us to think clearly on the things that we need to do to help our teachers, our students, and the Beauregard community. Let our insight be that of you, and let us learn to listen to that little voice that tells us when to say yes and when to say no. Again, I thank you, Father God, for giving me this opportunity one more time. And as we go forth this semester, let us be what you want us to be. Let us lead and guide our schools, our community, in the way you will have them to be guided. We just thank you for our superintendent tonight. We know the job is hard, but we know you've already made a way, and you know exactly what you want us to do. Thank you again. In your darling son Jesus' name we pray. Amen. 1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Bradford. Okay, you have the consent agenda for each of the committees before you. I'll take a motion to approve the agendas.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Sandiford, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Weldon seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will move to finance. Mr. Redler?
Call to order the Finance Committee meeting Monday, January 6th, 2025, Board Affairs School Board. Item 1, to consider approval of the minutes of the October 7th, 2024 Finance Committee meeting as written. Make a motion to approve minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Lafitte?
I'll second.
Ms. Weldon, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Are any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 2, to receive the financial reports for the prior month.
Good evening, everybody. We have a lot going on in finance right now. Just a quick update. As of today, I haven't received the sales tax collection numbers just yet, but as soon as I get them, I'll send those reports out to you. This is the month that we collect our ad valorem revenue as well. I haven't received that. Usually I get that more towards the end of this week. As soon as I get that information, I'll forward that to you as well. Just a few other things that are going on. We have started the reporting of all of our expenses to follow the new law for Act 370, which is now going to send all of our data regarding expenses that are normal expenses and our contracted expenses to the Department of Treasury. So we will be reporting those twice a year to the Treasury as well as to the Louisiana Department of Education. ACA reporting is starting. That's our 1095Cs and 1095Bs for the Affordable Care Act. Those will be generated and sent out from our third party. W-2s are currently being processed. We're finalizing our 941s for the last quarter of 2024. We do not have a date if any of your constituents ask as far as when those are going out, but they do by law have to be out by the 31st of January. All W-2s are being sent electronically to all of our active employees as well as all of you as well. It'll come to you electronically. The printed W-2s only go to our substitute employees. 1099Ms are going to be the same as last year. That will be sent out to all of our retirees instead of the 1099R that had been done in previous years, in case you have any retirees that ask. That is due to the fact that a 1099R is utilized to report annuities and pensions, and the sales tax disbursement is not an annuity or a payment from a retirement system. It is other income, hence the reason why we're doing the 1099Ms, and because now the retirees are now earning more than $600 on those supplements within a calendar year. Our audit as finalized for fiscal year '24, Ms. Sarah Werner is coming in this week to meet with myself and Mr. Larry Holly, as well as my 3 accountants for payroll, my lead accountant, and our purchasing agent, who's also our purchasing accountant. We will be discussing all of the audit with her, and then she's going to be bringing us some suggestions. And that's everything we've got going on right now. There wasn't a lot in the financial documents just because it's so early in the month. Did you have any questions regarding the ones that I have already sent you? Okay,
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter.
you're very welcome, Mr. Redler.
Any other questions? At this time, I'll take a motion to approve receiving the financial reports.
I'll second.
Mr. Green, Ms. Weldon,
All right,
all in
thank
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, we do have a green card on this one. To discuss revision of policy file GBA compensation contracts and guidelines and take appropriate action. Mr. Spikes, would you like to, before we discuss? Please state your name and
Ellis Spikes. First, good evening to everyone. Mr. Redler, President Lafitte, Mr. Holly, and all the board members. Y'all are doing a good job. But you know, sometimes everybody not gonna agree with what you do. Most of the time I agree, but this one time I'm disappointed in myself and the board on an item that I want to discuss. I thank y'all for giving me this opportunity to speak. And I'm not trying to hurt no one or do anything against no other personnel. But I just want to be fair, because I think at the bottom of your letterhead that you sent out, you say there's no discrimination against nobody and the other thing. And I feel that something going wrong here. But I am a product of the Bourgoid school system. I went to school, 3 schools here in Bourgoid Parish. I went to Bancroft Color School in Bancroft. I went to George Washington Carver High School. And then I went to Height High School, where I graduated from. Had wonderful teachers. And you might know a few of them. Miss Merrill Shade Williams, Mr. L.V. Scott, Miss Ruth Bell Singleton, Mrs. Eltha Moses, and Mrs. Lucille Smith. I worked in the parish for 43 years. 43 years. I think some things, for that service, you should get something, not taken away from you, but continue. After them 43 years in 2017, I retired. I substitute on the buses, continue driving, and people's calling you at 5 in the morning to work. And I love children. I love them. And they've been good. I see my students now. I've seen one today. He gave me 5 hugs for all the things that I've done for him. And he's not the only one. But I'm here to talk about the supplement for retirees. I don't know how many in my position. It's not that many. I probably can count them all on my hand. But y'all probably know, or someone know, Ms. Crane probably know, who retired and came back to work and working for the system. And when I took the job and had excellent interview people that interviewed me, they done a super job. But I didn't know anything about, that once you come back, you will not get your little supplement, which is what, $500 for retirees? I didn't say one word about it when I didn't get it. But then y'all done something else. Done something else. Start paying educators that drive a bus. They was getting both supplements or they get both supplements. Correct me if I'm wrong anytime. I don't think that was fair, and then took my little retirement that I was getting from the supplement away. I got the support supplement. I thank you for that. But why would you do something like that? And that's why I didn't say anything when I didn't get that first check from the retirement check. Because I thought that's the way it was supposed to be. But when this board would do something like that after I had worked all of those years, they didn't care about what I gave the system. Some of you, many of you did. Because I talked to some of you. That next time, I don't know what you did, but I got that supplement. So I know it's not a policy on it if you can do that. But I want to know the policy on that. But you gave me that next one, and I thank you for it. Then, the next time the supplement came, did I get my retirement little supplement of $400 or $500? No. And I'm wondering why I didn't get it that time. And then came back, talked to some people, and I got it the next time. So I guess what it is every other time they're going to give me the retirement. 5 times I got 2 of them. Now, is that fair to you? Is that being fair to someone who have worked in the parish? When some of these that's getting this both supplements probably haven't worked for 20 years, maybe 10. But they getting it. And I don't have a problem with that. I'm glad they getting it because they need it. They need it, and I don't want nothing to happen to them. But the bottom line, I don't think it's fair. Something is wrong with this picture. And that's all I'm asking for. And I'm sure I didn't do no trying to find out who else was in my situation. And I knew someone, but I never went to them and asked them nothing. If they was getting it or if they was not. So, all I'm asking, whatever you do, be fair to everybody. Be fair to those who have worked all of these years and then they retire. But I'm really not worried about it because I know the king I'm serving gonna fix this. And I know all of you serving the same king I'm serving. And if in your heart you think it's right, that's good. Bless you. Bless you. But in my heart, I feel it's wrong to do that to people, to anybody.
Can I interrupt you, Mr. Sykes?
Sir?
I'm curious, because I'm looking over the policy, I'm not seeing where the policy that we're looking at tonight is taken away.
The policy, I don't know what this policy doing, because I haven't really seen a policy to explain to me about a retiree. You might have it, but you're gonna have to explain it to me.
I think we're gonna discuss that tonight, and you should be able to see that.
But I thought,
see the draft.
now this have nothing to do with what I'm talking about?
One quick question.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what all this started was state handing down guidelines. Mr. Holly, I hate to put you on the spot, but can you clarify? Because I know we were all taken aback. when
Last
the state
summer-
recognized 2 different job classes.
Last summer, the state recognized them as 2. That came through whenever they pay their stipend from the disbursement, because it came as 2, and that was a long-term discussion. Prior to us moving to that under GBA, under how the payrolls is paid off, was that if you had both jobs, a support and a certified, you would receive the higher of the 2. Okay? And then below that was the same thing that attached to retirees. Now, I know when Mr. Spikes did come back to work, and I'm not quite sure the timeline because it exceeds me, that in June of 2023, he wasn't updated in the system from a temporary to a returned full-time employee. So he got, on one side he was, on the other side he wasn't. So he got the retiree and then he got the support. Because in December of last year, he didn't get it because he met me outside and I remember the conversation. He said, no, I'm going to speak to your board member, my board member. And that's kind of where we got off on that conversation. Now, as far as who gets what, I'm not privy to that information. I just knew of that one instance because he had got it in June of '23 and not December. However, this affects about 8 people. Isn't that right, Mr. Ensminger?
Yes, sir.
8 people who have retired from our parish and returned back to work. I don't think at any time we've exceeded 10. And so,
When you say retired from, say, education aspect, but they're returning as a bus driver?
they have to be retired from our system to receive the supplement. So I'm referring to those who have retired from us who are eligible for the supplement and have returned back to work.
Of those 8, 5 have returned as teachers, 3 have returned as bus drivers.
They're all board.
Part-time?
They're full-time.
Full-time, and I'm
Full-time.
worried about bus drivers only. So how many bus drivers you said?
3.
Three. Those teachers returned, I'm sure they're not driving a bus too. Are some of them driving a bus?
I don't think so.
I don't need them.
But shouldn't they be in this discussion as
So,
well?
and then, I've asked, I don't know where it's written. If it's a law, it's got to be written somewhere, right? This law that the state sent, I asked for a copy. Have I received it after a certain time? Is a certain time we have to wait for something?
I gave those to you, Mr. Spike.
Not from the state. You gave me that policy that I didn't understand. You said you was gonna get that for me. Correct me if I'm wrong. Can you tell me
I
that?
gave the policy and the IRS statement, correct?
Madam Chair, we can allow this
I don't know, maybe you did, but I didn't get the
Mr.
law.
Spikes,
No, I didn't give you a law because there's not a law.
Oh, it's not a law. Didn't they just say that the law was handed down? Well, okay, I'm through with it. Whatever you decide is fine with me. But I want to let you know and y'all doing a good job, but there was one thing, I'm disappointed in some of you. And the ones who agree with this, not giving retirees after they done worked all of those years. That little $400, I know they get the other one, but then these teachers that drive a bus and teach, yes, they deserve that too. But you giving them almost how much? $7,000, $8,000?
Okay.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think we
I know
discussed
what
this
it
enough. Mr. Spikes, with all
Okay,
due
thank
respect,
you.
we're going, we'll move into discussion on it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spikes.
All right, so policy GBA. The last time we discussed this, last month, there were some issues that we wanted to clarify and clean up. We had brought in some previous financial directors, Ms. Carpenter, Ms. Archer, myself, mainly Mr. Ensminger, have worked with some of the board members to add what we see in green. You've had this for, well, some of you, I think we actually sent it out way early to read over. I think this addresses all of our concerns. It clears up the verbiage on the 10%. It clears up everything. The only thing really that we would have to consider tonight is if we were to amend this to include that retiree returner works receive both their position, whether it be certified or support, which they are getting, and their retiree as well, the retiree supplement as well. So, as I said, through my research, there's currently 8. There's never been more than 10 who have returned full-time, $3,500 max. It's a small drop in the bucket. There's 2 ways to look at it. The pragmatic way is to say, yeah, but you're getting a bigger one, and you're getting a retirement, so we're gonna save that 32. Or there is the way that we can say, this is our people who have served us. It's a small drop in the bucket. let's go ahead and give it to them, and if we cap out, if we get to 15 or 20, then where it takes away from active employees, then we pull back. I mean, that's just the two versions.
As with the active employees serving in dual positions, does the state have any guidance, or is there anything we can?
Mr. Redler,
follow?
when we went through that, they shotgunned us with so much at so time. Now, I do have documentation from the state. We used that, how they gave out the stipends. Comes as two different pay codes. We were already bringing that to the table about paying people who are serving two roles, because they receive, they are doing two different jobs for that time. There was some verbiage. I need to go back and see it, but it may take me a minute, because you saw all the policies and laws that went through this summer with Act 311 and 370. It's almost more than I can keep up with. But we determined that night that the state would recognize them in disbursements of stipends, and we would recognize them at the parish level, same way.
Remind me real quick, Mr. Green, if you wouldn't mind, remind me, like, in order to receive the retiree, the supplement that we're talking about, you have to reach like 20 years, like what is the?
5 years in Beauregard Parish.
So if you work 5 years in Beauregard, even.
But that's on top of you have to have the years.
Yes,
total
yes,
years.
yes. You have to have the years
Yeah,
to
that's-
retire.
Yeah, okay, that's my question.
5 vested in Beauregard, you're like.
What is that number, that in order to retire, and is it 20? Or is there a different?
No, you can retire at any time, but the pay actually
With full
begins.
benefit, right?
With full benefits, you get 65% at 20 years.
Okay.
Is that correct? Pretty sure that's correct. And then it goes in increments up to 40 at 100%.
Yeah.
Most people try to get their 30 with 3, which gets them about 84% on average.
At 40 is 100%.
So then the question just becomes then, like philosophically, like how do we feel about, people coming out of retirement? Some could argue to help us out,
Well,
right?
I will say this.
So,
And- Go ahead, Mr. Redler.
well, that's what I was gonna say, and I appreciate you, Mr. Spikes, coming and talking with us today. So definitely, there are some times where the staff is low, the staff is needing bus drivers for one, classroom teachers, certified teachers who may come out of retirement and teach and whatnot. So that's definitely a plus and an advantage for us, for have the retirees coming out and joining back the workforce and supporting our schools and our parish in that. So that's definitely something that I appreciate, and I think we all do, and we have to regard that as far as, when we look at this and
Well,
with
I
the
mean,
number
but-
only being
but-
8, right?
But let's also look at it this way. If that retiree stayed home, we'd pay them, and the role that they're coming back and filling, if they didn't fill it, we'd hire someone to fill it, and we'd be paying them
So we'd
anyway.
still be paying that
We'd be
supplement plus
paying,
that
so it'd be a
retirement.
wash.
Exactly.
See, and that was the same.
Exactly.
That was one of the arguing points on the dual employees. We're paying them as teachers. We have to have somebody drive the bus, so we would be paying them as well. I really believe at this juncture,
And we pay them both stipends, right?
right, and we
Yes.
were hoping that having the dual employees receive both would increase our number of teacher bus drivers. It has not.
Yeah.
Correct, Mr. Wenzel?
It has had very little dividend thus far.
No, but he's
We're
helping.
hoping.
He's helping.
I'm recruiting.
I'm saying, without Mr. Spikes driving the special education route that he's driving, we're hiring another retiree, whether it be Mr. Cooley, who drives the bus almost every day, whether it be, he was Mr. Markle for quite a while, so we are doing that. So I think it would be pragmatic and wise of us for this. They're doing the job. Let's just get that in the verbiage and go forward.
I feel like the precedent has been set as well,
Mhm.
as far as having two different roles to receive.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're being consistent in doing
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I think we're comparing apples to apples.
So I'll need a motion to amend.
And if we do, this will be going forward, not retro back, correct?
Just be going forward. Because technically, if you had received one prior to this, you would have received it as a mistake, and then you would have to pay that back, and I don't
was
want to do
just
that.
Want to make everything right, but we don't want to get into a bigger can of worms.
No, I think we need to go forward with it.
Mr. Redler, I'll make that amendment.
Do I have a second? Ms. Lafitte? Mr. Arshil? All in favor?
So do we have to talk about the verbiage
Yes,
of it?
we need
Yeah,
to, that's,
Yeah, I was waiting for you
I'm
to
waiting
put
for
one
Ms.
of y'all
Archer.
could be in, but basically, we would just say that all retirees who return to work will receive a supplement for each, their retiree supplement plus the position they are
In the
currently
position they're
occupying,
currently held.
following the current guidelines for start date. So like if I have a retiree who comes in after September 30th, they're only going to get X amount at Christmas, that which is in our policy
Yep.
right now.
Yep.
So
Okay.
we can, if we can just have the base of that written out, I can fill in the rest.
Okay. I've got to repeat it back.
I was gonna ask Ms. Archer.
Retirees.
Retirees
Who,
who come back, who come out of retirement to fulfill a,
okay, Pam's got a motion to add retirees who return to work in a full-time position will receive the supplement applicable to the full-time position and the retiree
and the
supplement.
retirees, yes.
That's what you said.
That's what I said.
I heard it.
You can say yes, it was presented.
So we need a vote on the amendment?
We have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to amend carries.
Now GBA as it is.
Now, Mr. Winston, would you like to go over, or you,
No, this
you're
is
good?
more Mr. Holly.
Yeah, Mr. Holly?
Yes, like I said, it
I
covers.
apologize.
Covers every point. Like I said, we brought in previous financial directors, all hands on deck, Ms. Pam. I think, and let me give you this piece of information, which Board of Repairs does not have a procedural manual. We have policies, and we have procedures, but it's not in a document that can be easily, so when we get here, a lot of what's in green should actually be part of our procedural manual that's adopted by the board. So this is one of the most specific policies that we will have. But I think because of the questions that it has invoked for the last 6 months, it's needed. So it's wordy, but it's accurate. It's up to date. Everybody following after myself, Mr. Ensminger, Ms. Carpenter, will have no questions on how it needs to be done.
Any other questions? All right, at this time, we'll receive a motion to discuss revision of policy file GBA, compensation of contracts and guidelines, and take the appropriate action. This is the amended item.
I make a motion that we approve the amended file GBA.
I'll second that.
Mr. Green, Ms. Lafitte, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on. To consider Group C projects for the 2023 bond. This is item number 4.
All right, so there are several projects that are underway. There are several projects that are in the architect's hands. I can give you per $1 million, per 500,000, add 2 months. So the more, the bigger it is, it seems like it gets done a little faster. But we're working on them. I expect to have some go out for bid end of January, 1st of February, which will be coming to you. I'll make sure, because we're not in a crunch for time, you get those ahead of time. That was asked. I'll make sure I've done that. This last group will clear our bond for 2023 of projects. There's a meeting tomorrow between Ms. Carpenter, myself, and Ms. Kelly to address where you're at, what our money's looking like, because I believe we will have an excess at the end of 23, which we can, then I'll present with you another area, and we can start deciding how we're going to do that. But I say all this is a great time to get rid of Group C with the discussion that's coming Thursday with Mr. Schluter on a possible 2025 bond. So we can put this one to bed for now and then have a clear head. I think you've seen everything that's on here. The ones that I know that I have dedicated architects to or need architects on, their names are there. The ones who are not, I have not. Now, I'm going to use this opportunity to just star SBHS and DHS Career Tech Building. When we get to long-range planning, I want to go back to those. But for right now, is as is. So any questions?
Any questions?
Why would we not spend some money on the heating upgrade instead of the turf? Is there a reason that we're, is all these projects, is that what you're saying? All
The
these
DJHS heating upgrade should not be on there. We fixed that with our AC upgrades. We were able to get in there. And one of the things that was stated, and one of the reasons why that field was last was because we wanted to make sure our rooms were cool and heated. Today, I think we had 3 or 4 locations that we had to have work on, first big hole. But, no, we fixed that with our, because I met with Ms. McBride again and just triple checked.
Mr. Holly, I also remember there was discussion about the turf issue at DeRitter, and when it's south, when there are 2 schools, or did we discuss that, or was it only the one?
The original discussion was turf and stadium upgrades at South, but because of our lack of hurricane funding from the damage, we just went with stadium repair and upgrades as being our main focus. That's where the money we're spending.
The turf itself is like a contingency if we have to build another gym. Expanding the,
I'm kind of opposed to turf being added to fields when I worry about potential AC issues or just potential bigger issues that we deal with throughout the entire parish than to put that money into turf, which there's a lot of pro fields that are actually pulling it from their fields because of injuries and issues with that. So I'd have to really hear a really good reason why we need turf on a field of one school.
Okay. I will say this, by law, our bond brochure is a legal document promising what we're going to do to the voting public. When they vote for it, they're saying, okay, I'm holding BPSO, or BPSB, excuse me, accountable to do this if the funds allow.
Right.
And this is kind of like on our last one, phase 1, 2, and 3. We didn't make it all the way down. We can, as a board, choose to bring it off of and reallocate that money. I'm not sure of the specifics because that's as far as I got in the question. What I would say we would have to ask ourselves is if we were good with it at that time and we agreed to put it on the bond, then what's our reasoning for pulling it off now? It's outside of, we've done everything else. It's going to be the last thing.
I thought it was at multiple schools. Like, I am confused. I did think it was
at South.
it was at South, and I didn't think that there was a contingency that it was moved. I thought it was at both schools. So I just.
It was added into the South, stadium upgrades and turf. But the stadium was in such disrepair that money went all there. It wasn't, if there was enough money, we would have turf there too. And I think, if y'all remember, the discussion point on the turf was, it serves more than just multiple.
Yeah,
like-
it's not necessarily
It's not
like,
just-
oh, we're trying to get this professional, like, it will allow multiple people.
To
It's a
use
practical
the
thing.
field. It's a practical
And especially at bigger schools, that's where we see the biggest return on the investment.
In this world, I'm not arguing, advocating for or against, I'm
Yeah.
just providing you with what I know.
Well, and, to also go back on that, the projects that we didn't complete in the last bond, we had talked about track resurfacing and all of that, and those didn't get completed either. How come those didn't also come and get spent with bond money from this time? Because we did promise the public that if funds were available, we would spend it on those type of things. Well, we had funds available once again
'Cause it
in a
was-
bond form.
It was a different bond, so say everything that 2019 got done, and what was left died. And it would have to been brought onto the proposal for 2023.
For it to be
That's
voted
what
on.
it's attached
In
to.
order for it.
So that meeting that I mentioned with you tomorrow, we'll see where we're tracking the money. I have the old bond stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring those things back up because, it's my goal to make this parish the best that we have, So we have a light project we approved last time, which is gonna address 3 football stadiums and 2 locations for softball and baseball. Well, there's 1 location left off, so I'm looking to stretch that to carry, and then every field in the parish will have new lighting. So that's what I'm saying is I will have better information after tomorrow financially, so that I can give you an update of where we're at. That's pending what these projects bid out at, because we estimated prices have been staying about the same. I don't expect it to be too far off of our estimations. We've come in under a lot on a couple, so.
And I
I'd
assume,
also like to say that football is one of the biggest crowd draws in our parish as an event, as a sport. And it will give an opportunity for people to see that we are making things beautiful, as well as that field has junior high football, 2 seasons, fall and winter. They have junior high soccer, they have varsity high school soccer, boys and girls. They have the regular football, then they have band, and then they'll have track. So that field is probably the most used field in our parish.
They also play rec games there too. on the
Yeah.
weekends.
And they have our parish band
And
festival.
I do know that there's the opportunity for injuries, and we need to look at that, see if there's different kinds of turf. But I think money spent, I think that field would show forth in this parish and in DeRidder especially, that we're taking care of it and people have something that they can look and see that that's a very magnanimous field. Because when you go to fields that have turf, it is just, they are immaculate compared to the grass fields, because the grass fields are never fertilized right or watered right. or
We
maybe
just
they're
don't have the ground crew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right,
there's-
right.
That brings me.
And so
and I-
it's just really cleans it up.
I know
And
at
so for
South
me, I have-
Beauregard Rec Center, the baseball fields are all turf, and it is like night and day when you, it's just, it almost gives you a prideful feeling and when you play on the turf and.
That's not
so-
school board money.
That's not school board, I'm just talking about what,
And
support Mr. Shirley and what he's saying, it's just it's a good,
One of my questions was, what all would it be used for? But another question I have, what is the upkeep? What do we look at, 5 years down the road?
The feeling for most artificial turfs are ground up rubber tires.
And I'm ignorant on this.
And so, basically, if you watch closely on a turf field, when there's tackles or the ground's impacted, those things cling up. If you walk on one, you'll feel your shoes with them, kind of thing. So, it's almost like getting divots in a football field that's been rained on or golf track. You will have to seed it with those rubber, you have a company come in and seed it with those rubber tube safety standards. And that's
Also have
That's
these big
pretty much
sweepers
it.
too, that essentially like kind of level it back out, I've seen that.
And that was my only concern, getting into it and not seeing the hidden costs down the road.
What is the warranty on
I don't know, Mr. Stark. Pull that one out of my hat, I don't know.
They
I
probably
would
have
say,
different qualities, which would have different qualities.
I would say that the minimum you would probably see, based off what I've done here, is 10. That's probably the minimum, because when you're spending what I expect it to be about 1.2, 1.3 million, you're gonna get a extended warranty.
But it sounds like what you're saying is, since this is already on our bond proposal, there's no way around it if there
We're
was a
obligated.
reconsideration. So.
You could,
it
and
is what
from
it
what
is.
from what I've read, no, I wouldn't, I'm not 100%, it's just my own Larry Holly's research. You could agree to pull it off. Then you're gonna be liable to all the people who wanted it. We voted for it
and
just for
voted for it,
that.
yeah.
I'm just
We probably legally
hearing that.
could, but
Well-
it's not gonna be the best thing when you make a promise and you take that
Right.
back.
Those are a lot of activities that happen on that one field, right?
I
So
didn't realize
I can
there was that
assume
much.
with the winter weather and the rain, and probably that field gets tore up, right? So
Yeah, it
I would
doesn't get
think.
used. You
right,
can't use it.
I would think
And that's a good
the-
point, this would allow more.
The ability to use it, yeah.
Well,
I would say that's the one thing
field
about it.
in Good shape.
Is this in a priority order? Organized in a priority order? Like, the restrooms are above all this?
Yes, ma'am.
So, whenever the turf was presented to us before, I do recall it was because there was a CTE building that was gonna be built
Okay.
in the location.
Remember I told you those?
He's going to that.
To star those?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just wanna, if we're gonna do that building, then the turf needs to come down. Yeah.
It's last because I'm agreed, we agreed to it, but I also would rather explain your kid's warm, your kid's cool and comfortable as opposed to that. And so I think we're all in agreement with there.
Yeah.
But I'll cover more when we get to the long-range planning with CTE.
Any other discussion? At this time, consider a motion to consider Group C projects for 2023 bond.
Make that motion.
Hold on, time out. What is the action we're taking? I'm unclear. So are we just
To
approving
approve.
these to go forward to
Yes.
bid?
Yes.
Like, okay. I just was
Yes.
wasn't clear in the.
We have a motion from Mr. Bowman. We don't have a second.
Still second.
think Mr. Shirley
I
beat you.
think you
Ms.
beat
Whit-
me.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, that concludes the Finance Committee meeting. I will finally hand it.
This time I'll call to order the Long Range Planning Committee. All board members are part of this committee, as I recall.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Item number 1, to consider approval of the minutes of the September 9th, 2024 Long Range Planning Committee meeting as written. Everybody has that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, first and second by Ms. Cynthia and Ms. Redler. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Number 2, to receive an update on the previous quarterly discussion items.
Okay, we had 4 or 3 major discussions last time. First of all is the First Street property, which is located directly west of us. The phones, or the door hadn't closed when me walking in at 7:45 that morning to the first phone call came. That is a highly sought-after property, which is good for us in the sake that if we choose to ever vacate this building or sell that, it's going to bring in a competitive price. Just saying. So I wanted you to know, I did not entertain any of those calls because I knew that we were eventually going to be discussing a bond, and in that conversation, we talked about a new boardroom. There are there's 2 locations that we have that we own where it is probable for us, or it would be, not probable, but would be a good location for us to build if we ever decide to build, which was be on running east and west besides DeRidder Junior High. If you've driven, I can't think of the name, I don't know if it's Bilbo, the name of that street, but we have about 7 acres, looks to me, right beside DeRidder Junior High that we could build a new school board and provide parking for there. And we could utilize their 6th grade wing as our meeting and training rooms, making dual use out of that building that's currently just housing a few classrooms that are rotating through. Or we could go to a primary spot, which is across the street, which makes us more localized, more center toward town, and build here. However, almost all of the funding from the selling of the building we're currently in, the properties across the street here and across the street there, may cover 1/3 to a half of what we're planning to do, not half, but may have 1/3 of what we're trying to do with a new school board. So we're still time away, but depending on if we pursue the bond of 2025, do we pursue the opportunity of a new school board? That's the place that we're at as far as that, because every time a bond has come up, it has been discussed, but it has been not moved on. And the perception, and I will say, I don't know from experience, but I remember in Calcasieu, when the school board moved from where they were at to the old Sam's, which is on Broad Street, and all of the outlying schools like Quincy, Starks, we had a very negative perception of that. There was a lot of millions of dollars went into that building while we didn't receive anything. And I never want to be seen as taking away from our students. There are some of our campuses that need some major upgrades. They're old. It's just what they are. And it's going to take money to do so. But none of our structures are dilapidated. And if we keep pushing it off, when we have Student of the Year, or we have controversial topic, or we want to recognize our Teachers of the Year, and parents and people have to wait outside, I don't think we're ever going to get smaller in that aspect. So it's something I think that needs to be discussed among your constituents, your thoughts on, and with public support, we generally consider that. And then once we decide this is something we're going to do, then we can make a move on the properties that on First Street and so discussed. Second was our North Street 10 acres. We had thought about taking the timber off of that. The timber's too small, too mature at this time, immature at this time. However, there is a first right of refusal that if we were to offer that land for sale, the people who sold it to us, we would have to give them back at the same price per acre, which was $500. And we would lose that land. I would rather hold the value of the land at this time. Maryville Junction, 40 acres. This was a difficult pursuit because it's hard to get companies that are not centralized here but are working satellite to call you back on properties. The 2 phone calls I did receive back was the acreage was not worth the bang for the buck. They're looking for large tracts of land to find those gravel veins and to pursue them. Even the proximity could be, they would like to do some testing, but they couldn't tell me when they could do the testing. So our next avenue would be to move forward with the timber. And I think I need to speak, I know Mr. Shirley put eyes on it, and there's a couple of gentlemen I'd like to call to go and look. But I think that our timber harvest on that property could put a little bit of money back into our building and grounds, our land purchasing. And then finally, Carver, we walked through with BAP on Friday. Wanted BAP to get a look of where we'd like for them to go so we can occupy Carver and make some upgrades that would work for the teachers and staff there and students. Because it's not going to be BAP at Carver, I still have a dream for a career and technical school. I was hoping, and this is how I know about removing things from the bond, that we would be at a good enough place that we could take CTE classrooms, which is career and technical, away from the 2 locations that they were attached to and utilize that $4 million into creating that centralized school. We had a VOAG and CTE walkthrough in October. Several of those 2 schools were deemed on their facilities versus their number of students versus what we need to do. Actually, had to submit some paperwork from one of our architects working with the Ag Shop at DeRidder to say, hey, we recognize the problem and we're working on it to the State Department. We cannot build for DeRidder a CTE classroom in South. They absolutely have to have those buildings, particularly DeRidder, just to bring us up to where we're at. So I'm kind of stuck with the CTE at this time. Again, that's another consideration for a new bond if we receive it. But at least at this point, South and DeRidder will have the new buildings for their career and technical education classrooms. Don't know where I'm going to put it at South, maybe on top of another one, I don't know. I walked with Coach Holder today and we kicked around some ideas, but it may be possible for us to expand on the current Ag Shop north and west a little bit and possibly south and do a total facelift and create the classrooms needed. That's probably going to be our best bet. So that's why I wanted Ms. Weldon to say, I can't take those off.
Oh, no, I
And
don't
so
want them off.
I was hoping that we would be, everybody would be like, yes, you know, our schools would be like, we're great, use that, but it didn't work out that way.
I remember the walkthrough we had before and seeing the CTE stuff at DeRidder
Mhm.
and how much there was a need for a larger building. So I know the situation, but I'm glad that they are gonna get
So
something.
the final item I have today, those were the 3 that I wanted to discuss prior to. And then we have been contacted by a nonprofit organization that is of DeRidder. It is headed up by one of our local public figures. And they want to purchase the old Head Start on Martin Luther King Drive and the training school. There's been a desire to use the old Head Start as an East Side Community Center, which I think was a phenomenal idea because it would give us the Kingdom Center on one side of 27 and then the Head Start on the east side for our various communities. Because it is a school property and because it is put a pin in that one, because it is a school property, there is a lot of things that need to happen. Land, there's no building on it. This is a building. So Ms. Pam and I were looking into it. She said the first thing, if we decide to move forward, would be a resolution that would have to be adopted by the board stating that we acknowledge that this building belongs to us, that is no longer occupied by students, and we no longer have a purpose for it. Okay. There is also, on the training school, Ms. Carpenter had agreed to, whoever did purchase it, she would continue to work with the current grant with the new owners to try to facilitate that repair to that building. However, Mr. Ensminger is looking at some paperwork. There is a couple of things attached to the old training center that reverts it back to, in the case it's not used as a school in 2 years, it would fall back to the previous owner that no longer exists. There's a company that no longer exists. So we got a lot of tethers into what's going on right now.
Does that also apply to the First Street property? That was gonna be one of my questions. If we had, I know the school, when we had looked at, there were some stipulations attached to that due to the property being donated by Long Bell. Is any of that,
That we have not seen that as of yet. But it takes a little bit of us to go through. The first exploratory has not, because whenever you look at like the old Head Start, it sits on acreage, and then there is 5 acres behind it that is not attached to it, but we own both. That's the same way it appears here from the First Street. We own that the property behind. That is something we will check and verify this week. So roll that around in your minds. If we're really wanting to move forward on that, I'll need somebody to tell me that this is what we're gonna do. It'll be a resolution that we'll create in February, we'll adopt and go forward. Yes, sir.
No, on the historical building, I think there was donated to lumber company. By the lumber company. that
Long
building.
Bell.
Long Bell.
Yes, sir.
Would it go back?
Yes, sir, according to what's in the paperwork, but Long Bell doesn't exist anymore. So that's why I said that would be some legal issues that we would have to explore through someone who could, a lot smarter than I am with that. But if somebody doesn't exist, then how can we give it back to them?
and that was one of my questions, but like in the case of Long Bell, I think there was wording that said it passed to the successors or whatever the legal term is. They were bought out, but it would go to the current, whoever. It was real sticky.
With that, what I read and Mr. Ensminger has in his hand, there's no attachment such as that to it. Is there?
I can't find it.
Okay, neither of them.
And the second question on that is, it's a historical landmark.
Mhm.
And the people that are interested in buying it, would they respect it and keep that as a historical?
Would it be protected?
Right.
Well, it's protected. It doesn't lose its status, whether I own it, you own it, this microphone owns it. Its status as a registered Louisiana Historic Landmark has to be maintained. Okay, so the new owner would be responsible for the upkeep and repair, just like we are right now. We're just waiting on the grant to be able to do what we need to do. They would be held by the same laws and expectations.
And with the grant, I know they haven't came in yet. Whether it's gonna wait till they restore it or say they were gonna work with them.
Well, that's one of the things that, when we get to the end of 2023 bond, and we can do some of the stuff ourselves if the money allows, and we decide to do that, pending the grant, reimburse ourselves with the grant money. But right now, as far as just paying with what we got, we haven't received anything from insurance for it, and we're just trying to take care of the buildings that have our kids in them right now.
What I'm looking at, especially in Lincoln, historical wise.
Who wouldn't want to see it tore down?
Yeah, I mean, with historical.
Yeah, it's not common.
The Head Start building, I would love to see it be recreation, that's what we were talking.
Yes, sir.
Just with all that, I'm in favor with that.
And
They need it.
if we feel like the purchaser is not going to maintain the building, then we can hold on to what we need to hold on to. It's just, or in the contract, it's out there, I'm sure legalese to say you are responsible for doing X, Y, and Z. It is, it's not gonna be neglected any more than it is right now. And thus, that's all the information I have to share tonight. If there's no more questions.
Well, I guess, what are our thoughts on you know, I guess right now that we could either A, hold off on selling it, or B, fix it and the intention of selling it, right? And that's kind of like, kind of where we're at. Because we've gotten the grant that we're approved for to help us fix it and repair it. So now it's just a matter of when we want to do that.
And it could be as simple as just selling the Head Start building, but they're so closely attached that it really needs to be one owner. They're attached by a walkway. For us to, it's just the proximity. I would not want to be responsible for upkeep of a building that I have people on top of, that I'm not there to manage that building. That's just, to me, that's difficult. That's why when this organization said we'd like them both, I felt like that if they wanted them both, then they would do a good job in keeping them up.
Yeah.
This organization is pretty good,
Sir?
reliable organization.
Yes, sir, and I don't want to speak it out loud,
Okay.
because just at this point, it's just, I don't feel like that, we're just talking, but we can have a conversation afterwards.
Okay. That's what
We
I-
would maintain the 5 acres behind it, right?
We would
Just-
maintain it,
okay, we'd
and we
keep
would,
that.
yes, we've had some inquiries into buying it. And what I would not like to do is do that 5 acres to become a small ranch, or, just want to hold on to that, because I think it's a valuable location, and we could upkeep that area, and that pathway through there needs to always be clear.
Well, as long as the building's being taken care of, because it's protected, I say so.
Especially with us, like, if Ms. Carpenter's willing to continue with the grant that she worked so hard to get, you know, we ultimately, like, we want to see it back to its former glory as well. You know, it's a shining spot in the community over there, and so I think that if we can work hand in hand, continue that, improve it, but also get it off of our plate and let someone who can really love it and use it, I think that checks all the boxes for me
Yeah, it
personally.
checks all the boxes for me. I don't like
I'm
to see
good. I
buildings.
I share
Well,
Mr.
okay, well, what I'm
Arshield's
getting at is,
concerns.
that, you know, I'm representing that area.
Mhm.
You know, I just want to make sure that people understand what's going on and everything. The historical part of it, you got a lot of people. And
You know,
historical.
If we choose to do a resolution next month, then we would have to, we're obligated to present who's wanting to buy it. We can ask them to come here and speak their intentions for it. So we're going to make sure we take care of our property, of our history.
And then we would still have the opportunity to kind of tailor the contract. I share Mr. Arshield's concerns, I think. I mean, heck, I even went to school there.
So, the historical, and I'm definitely in favor of it. If they use of recreation, we definitely need it in that area. And I would love to help them, people would know, to decide, this was right.
Yes, sir.
I would, you know, so
With theirs. I
Like I said,
mean,
this is the first little tiny step in a long process. It has lots of legal ties to it. So that's why we call it long-range planning.
Right.
and then in the spirit of long range, would, I hate to see us, and this is just, I don't speak for everyone, of course, I hate to see us losing property. We've already, can't find most of our section 16 that we had at one given time. But would a long-term lease with these individuals be a better option?
Possible, but then again, we're still responsible for some maintenance.
And it'd be nice to have that money.
The old Head Start building, and I'm in the same boat with you guys. Like, to me, that's easy. That's a building that can, it has a lot of history to it, but it's going to serve the community. There it is, okay? It's gonna be in their best interest, whoever owns it, to keep it up. The historic building, if it's not restored back to its former self, it's not gonna be utilized, and it's continued to dilapidate. And so I don't want to see it. I would rather fix it up and then just moving on past that, or fix it up and keep it. But like I said, Mr. Arshie, whoever purposely wants to pursues this, will stand here and answer those questions for us.
And that's why I would like to see, self-justice guidance, so people will hear for themselves.
Yes, sir.
So do you need an actual, from, like, what do you need from us right now? Do you need us to say, do this, do
We went through
that?
this last month.
Yeah.
Not really,
Okay.
because I can move forward with something that has to come to you in a meeting.
Right.
But like I said, I would never move forward with something without looking at you and telling you this is what I
Yeah.
would like to see done.
Right.
So if we are in agreement, like, let's just explore this, then we'll start working on the resolution.
Work on the
I'll make contact with our legal, say, please advise, or put me in some contact with someone who can, and then we'll rediscuss in February.
Sounds good.
Any objection? Mr. Archer?
Well, I've said, if we look back into it, we got
Yeah.
to table it, or just,
Well, I mean, he said he'd
Just
bring,
further
he'd, look, further exploration, bring it back to us in February with.
Some more
Some more
details.
details. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Holly. All right. That concludes, long-range planning committee.
You're also building and grounds.
Am I building and grounds?
You're building and grounds.
All right, moving on to building and grounds. Item number 1, consider approval of the minutes of the October 7th, 2024 Building and Grounds Committee meeting as written. I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Bowman? Need a second.
Who else on the committee?
You got Jared, Christie, Ray,
That's
David.
I want to, but-
I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot to do that. Yeah, myself, Jared Thibodeau, Christy Neely, Ray Bowman, David Sherlin.
I said it,
I need to speak up. All right, Mr. Thibodeau, seconded. All in favor, please say aye. All right, item number 2, to receive a maintenance update.
Need these glasses because I can't read my writing anymore. Okay, so this month, or last month in December, which was a short month, we had 69 open work orders and closed 111. We also had 29 HVAC call-ins that were kind of handled almost 50-50 with our guy taking care of as much as he could, and the different companies that we've enlisted taking care of the others. The bond AC, I would say, is probably about 95% done now. There's mostly just tying up loose ends, stuff that has not worked properly, or is one unit that's going to probably have to be sent back to the factory because it was defective. Things like that, tying in like it, I think it's, Singer, and, well, they did East today, I think they're doing Singer tomorrow. The plenum, or the duct covering, those type of smaller things, but definitely something that's very important. Those things are being finalized. There's been a ton of projects going on for the past 2.5, 3 months. I mean, it's just been full speed ahead. We did finish the South Beauregard High School mechanical sewer. That's done, and it's working right. We have our outside agency that's already started testing the sewer, and all that so far has been, really, really good results. The South Beauregard Stadium is showing good progress. They finally got the stadium itself out, except for the one section we kept. And there looks like, I went over there today, they're about ready to start doing the bathrooms, concession area, putting the cinder blocks up and stuff. South Beauregard Junior High has had a fantastic facelift. They have new doors on the west side and the north side. If you hadn't been there, you need to look at it. It's very similar to walking into the upper now. We've also put in the new LEDs. They're almost finished they're through in the hallways and the admin and almost every classroom. They're gonna finish that up on the 20th on Martin Luther King Day while we're out of school. They're gonna finish that up, so it'll be done. I went through there today. Every teacher I talked to is really excited about the lights and the look, because it makes the room just, without those old hanging rusty things that were holding the lights, just makes it look brighter and bigger. It makes the classroom look a lot bigger. And then the new roof, after these last two storms, we didn't find any new leaks, so I think that it's holding well. Now they are finishing the roofs on the gym cafeteria. Cafeteria is definitely not finished. They had some ceiling tiles fall in from those storms because of that. But they should be, with this clear weather next week here, should be able to catch up on most of that. The home ec and auditorium roofs, they're still, they're not, they've worked on them, but not complete. Singer High School, the cafeteria is showing slow but steady work. They got the drywalls up in probably about 70% of it. I went over there and looked at it today, and it is coming, but it's just not as fast as we want it. I think Mr. Holly mentioned the junior high bathrooms. We're just waiting on the plans to come in from that at Singer. East Beauregard, Maryville, the baseball, softball projects. I'll know more tomorrow. I went by and looked at them today. They're really coming around, but we have an actual on-site meeting in both of those places tomorrow, and they have about a month from tomorrow to finish it up. And they feel like they're on time. It just kind of depends on the weather, I guess. If we don't have too many raining days, I think they'll make it. They've been working really hard in it. And it looks good. All of our landscaping that I've been able to see has been updated, considering the season we're in. You know, it's going okay. There are a few trees that we're looking to get rid of and stuff. They're dead in different places, but other than that, I think most of it is in good shape. And the Pinewood, the Ritter Junior High LEDs outside of some of the security things have been taken care of. It looks really good. Bathrooms at Pinewood and the junior high, the Ritter Junior High, renos, have started. It's going to be a kind of a slow process with them trying to work around the students and stuff, but they're looking at between a month, 2 months to be completely through with that. The DeRidder High School band room and the DeRidder High School ag are in the planning stages, like Mr. Holly said, and but we should have, work starting on that before too long. I probably left something out, but I'm sure you'll remind me about it, so. Yes, sir.
At junior high, the safety issue dealing with the, under the goal, when the kids was falling and hitting their head on the pipes and stuff.
New
Did you take a
pad.
look at it?
There's a put on the basketball goals, some additional padding we were looking into.
Okay. We'll, talking about just like when they shoot a layup and run into
Yeah,
it.
when
Okay,
we-
gotcha.
What I've seen and what other parents seen is when they fight for the ball fall, you slide with the head against that pipe.
I might not have told you last month, that's on
Yeah.
me.
No.
I wasn't
That
here,
came
so,
up last month,
but,
and he wasn't here.
Okay, yeah, that's on me, Mr. Darwin.
Okay.
I'm making a note now.
Okay, because more concern to a lot of people's safety issues, because we had 2 incidents that kids hit their heads on the pipe.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy fix. You just have to buy the
Extension.
mesh covering to
Yeah.
go around it, so hopefully I'll have that for you by next meeting.
Okay.
Punch list is good at DES.
Yeah, that's a me question. It is not. I mean, it is being done. That's where, to the tune of about $350,000 worth of punch list items. That's that final payment that the lien finishes today. That's for any subs that have any outstanding claims against Ratliff. And so that will be dispersed to them, but we will hold over $250,000 out on punch list items. With that being said, I've requested that the architect and the project manager from Evans, Champeau, and Hotard and Ratliff be here on Thursday, just to give us the plan, kind of give us some of the history of where we're at with the red dirt and what they're working on now. I did receive some quotes on sod. I told them pump the brakes on the sod because I had some questions that the board wanted to ask of them or perhaps ask of them. And so they very graciously said, we will be here. Said, you don't have to wear boxing gloves, this ain't a match, just come and provide the information that you know. And so, now if you want to box them afterwards, that's on. Just headgear.
Just headgear.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Green.
I'm sorry, just, how does the punch list work on completion with the AC project? Because that's such a weird.
Our C.D. Morgan, who is the architect that oversaw this project, they have about 1.5 more weeks. He talked to him today, Mr. Chris Morgan. They, because we requested it, went unit by unit and checked every unit for, is it really what they said they was gonna put in? Are there filters in them? Are there heat strips in them? And we have found a lot of issues to where Mr. Morgan called me today, said I was on the phone with the owner of the company, said, and he knows that you are displeased and they expect to be done in the next 2 weeks. And they have, Armsco has been adding some hurricane straps to our rooftop units, not on us, just to kind of say, we're doing what we can, here we are. But they went through every unit because it's all detailed out in their plans.
Right, yeah. And it was such a complicated and odd bid as it was.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy task.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I take that into consideration with both the architect and the provider, because we put it out there and had one person bid on it because it was gonna be difficult. So,
Talking about the boiler? Yes, so, we have temporary units in there to get through for right now. Matter of fact, it got so warm the last time they had to cut them off and run the air conditioning again, in December, so. But, I contacted the insurance sent the adjuster, that was during the Christmas holidays. We opened up, let him look at it, and I have not heard back yet from them. It'll be basically they'll be looking at it to see if it's going to be $100,000 deductible, which the whole thing costs like $115, or if it'd be like a $5,000 deductible. Depends on if it's covered or it's just, depends on where it falls.
if we have to pay for it outright, it's $115,000.
Yeah.
Now, having heat in a gym is a little bit different than having air conditioner in a classroom, because the gyms heat up very quickly when we fill them with people. So we got temporary in there to make people comfortable, and we haven't had any complaints, but we're just sitting and waiting on.
No, I'm fine with it. Me, I've talked to y'all before, I'd rather spend that money, in the classroom or wherever else we can get by.
And once they fill the gym, it takes care of itself.
Yeah, it was pleasant when they were at the tournament, and you said it got warm in there with the.
We do have temporaries in the dressing rooms, because when you are dressing, it will get cold. And they had, for their tournament, we had them in the hospitality room, but we've taken those out and put them in the lobby. And
And tell me the history of that boiler, is that new, is that, what's the
it's
history of that?
not
The gym is
old, but
new.
it's new to us. I mean, it's 12, 13 years old. But, you expect a boiler to last 50 years. And so, it was just a bad board, evidently. And so, but unfortunately, the board itself is not in existence anymore. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to order this part and get it in and fix it. The company, they try to repair them. We called them about repairing the board. And they said, you can send it up here to Ontario, Canada, but it's probably, it's a best of 50-50 chance we'll be able to repair it. And if it goes out again, there's no way we'll be able to repair it. You'd be better off getting a new board. So, but if you, again, to get the new board, it won't match the system, so you're going to have to get a complete new boiler system. But if that happens, we will get one that will be like a universal board on it that, will be something that's used for a long time. I think they got that on a pretty cheap deal is what I think happened, so.
Yeah, I was about to say something.
We got what we paid for, right?
Yeah, so. Anything else from me?
All right. And that wraps up, building and grounds.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Thank you, sir.
At this time, call to order the Policy Committee. Members are myself, Mr. Orchfield, Mr. Green, Ms. Weldon, and Mr. Shirley. Agenda item number 1 is consider approval of the minutes of the October 7th, 2024 Policy Committee meeting as written. Have a motion?
A second.
Mr. Orchfield makes a motion, Ms. Weldon seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item number 2, to consider revision of policy file BCBB, notification of school board meetings, and waive the waiting period. Ms. Miller?
Good evening, sir, and ma'am, all the members here. BCBB, this is a change to an existing policy, notification of school board meetings. This change is being requested based on the requirements of Act 539 and Louisiana Revised Statute 42:19. This became law on August the 1st of 2024. And the only thing that changes is it includes one statement, and that is, it shall also include sufficient information to enable the public to locate the live broadcast of the meeting. And that is just about the middle of your page.
And we do that already with our point that's attached to it.
It's always listed on the agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Weldon. Any discussion on the item? None? Okay, I'll take a motion to approve. Ms. Weldon? Second?
Second.
Mr. Shirley seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 3, to consider revision of policy file BCBJ, broadcasting and taping of school board meetings, and waive the waiting period.
Okay, this one is also a change to our existing policy of board meeting news coverage based on requirements of Act 539 and Louisiana Revised Statute 42:23. This became law on August the 1st, 2024. First of all, it renames the policy broadcasting and taping of school board meetings. It rewrites and expands the information in the first paragraph, also including providing for a definition of what a broadcast live is. In the second paragraph, it allows the school board to reserve the right to alter, change, or determine on a case-by-case basis to assure proper decorum and to protect the integrity of school board meetings.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion on this agenda item?
I think it's funny that we're saying we're taping it. Back to the VCR days. Instead of recording.
Do you want to make that change? Okay, so take a motion to approve agenda item number 3. Mr. Orchfield, second. Ms. Weldon, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 4, to consider new policy file IDDF, education of students with exceptionalities, and waive the waiting period.
Okay, and again, this is a change to an existing policy concerning the education of students with exceptionalities based on the requirements of Act 689 and Louisiana Revised Statute 17:1944, and this became law August the 1st. It adds a section, notification of individual rights, into the policy. This satisfies the statute's requirement of the school board to adopt a policy that provides written information regarding legal procedures affecting the transfer of individual rights from a parent to a child when that child attains the age of majority.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion? None? I'll take a motion to approve agenda item 4.
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Weldon makes a motion, second. Mr. Archfield seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Weldon.
adjourn?
Wait.
Mr. Redler?
Sorry.
Mr. Archibald seconded. All in favor, say aye.